Hello, welcome back. It is currently the Thanksgiving weekend in America, a holiday designed to commemorate a harvest celebration between the English Pilgrims and Native Americans, and the compassion and generosity that is supposedly the basis of our national spirit. But really, Thanksgiving is just an excuse for all of us to stuff our faces with ungodly quantities of food, slide into a food coma, and tune out the annoying family members. Of course, this year, because of the ongoing and escalating pandemic, we have been advised to stay home and avoid both traveling and large gatherings. But just like being home typically makes us revert to being teenagers, many angsty Americans shouted, "Don't tell me what to do, Mom," to the Center of Disease Control's urging. But unfortunately, this tantrum won't simply end with a messy room and an awkward silence. It will end with a messy and overwhelmed healthcare system that can't handle the number of people admitted. Some people, of course, object to canceling large gatherings on the grounds that it is an important national holiday. But here's the thing, while I genuinely enjoyed having a day off on a Thursday to eat and take naps, let's be honest, the foundation of this holiday is a whitewashed myth. I mean, the whole celebration of the harvest and giving thanks to the gifts of Mother Nature is real and common in many cultures around the world. But the neat story of friendly Native Americans guiding the newly arrived European settlers on how to survive and thrive is BS. It's true that after the English colonists arrived in the 1620s, many of them died of the disease and hunger and needed assistance from the locals, from whom they were regularly stealing. The chief of the Wampanoag tribe offered to help those who arrived on the Mayflower as a political compromise, over objections of his own tribe. But how exactly were those two groups able to communicate? Well, turns out one of the Wampanoag learned English after he had been abducted and sold into slavery. So here's the thing. Making up stories that glamorize the realities of that contact between the Europeans and Native Americans not only sanitizes how this country was founded, it really disregards the pain that many indigenous people have suffered. There is a slightly more heartwarming angle to the holiday. Sarah Josepha Hale, a woman who, fun fact, composed "Mary Had the Little Lamb," wrote to every president in her lifetime asking them to make a national holiday of unity. Finally, in 1863, after the country was ravaged by the Civil War, Abraham Lincoln declared a National Day of Thanksgiving to celebrate the Union's victories. So, despite all the colored greens and sweet potato pies they enjoy now, you can imagine that the white people in the South weren't too keen on the celebration. One tradition that has remained unchanged this year is the presidential turkey pardon. Typically, a sitting president pardons one or two turkeys so that they can fly away and go live their best lives. Just kidding, they can't fly. But these turkeys do get to retire to a farm and do nothing all day without a worry in the world, which is more than most elderly Americans can do. But because Trump is so committed to representing his white supremacy constituents, of course this year he wouldn't pardon a turkey unless it was white. He did pardon Michael Flynn though, a guy you won't remember as the 25th National Security Advisor because he lasted all of 22 days on the job. But a guy you should remember because he lied to the FBI and the Vice President about his Russian contacts and activities. So now he too can go and live his best life and continue being a registered foreign agent lobbying for turkey interests. The country, not the animal. So in the true spirit of holiday, let's give thanks and
no thank you
to those who deserve it. This year has been tough, and sure, we all need to feel connected. But there are also some sacrifices that need to be made because of the pandemic. Actually, a lot of smart people have pointed out online that nothing quite does the spirit of Thanksgiving like passing deadly diseases around. And sure, the first European colonizers killed more OG Americans with smallpox and other diseases than they actually murdered, But I want to point out a different problem that is in line with both 2020 and a certain myopic brand of conservative thinking. When you object to a holiday being cancelled, but ignore the humanitarian crisis happening, a crisis that is actually in line with the spirit of the holiday. So my first
no thank you
goes out to the Supreme Court Justices Amy Coney Barrett, Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alito, Neil Gorsuch, and Brett Kavanaugh, who ruled to block New York from enforcing pandemic-related attendance restrictions on churches, synagogues, and other houses of worship. And listen, I believe that everyone has a right to practice their religion. Last time I checked, the sanctity of life was a big thing across all religious practices. So, as someone who lives in New York, where the density of population means that COVID spreads especially fast, I want to say a special and sincere
no thank you
to all those aforementioned justices. Your religious freedom does not mean that you get to put the lives of others in danger. Another
no thank you
goes to our Congress that failed to pass a stimulus bill, even though a record number of Americans continue to struggle financially. 26 million people say that they don't have enough to eat, and 20 million are at risk of losing their homes after eviction protections end at the end of the year. And while Thanksgiving is meant to be a feast, think about the fact that the number of people experiencing food insecurity or inability to consistently access healthy food is astronomically high in America. And aren't we supposed to be the best? For example, this fall, 16% of mothers say that they don't have enough to feed their school-age child. Service organizations like Bread for the City that assist low-income residents with food, medical care, and social support now feed 5,000 people a week when it used to be 5,000 people a month in the same area. And before someone says that unemployed people should just stop being lazy and get a job, first, there are not enough jobs right now. And second, the widespread closures of schools and daycare centers have left many mothers with no childcare. On the other hand, I do want to give thanks to the Scottish government. Scotland has become the first country in the world to make periods products such as tampons and pads free to all those who need them. And this is not about vanity. For those who don't understand, the average woman spends about $28,000 on period-related products in her lifetime, which is enough to buy herself a nice brand new car. And by the way, most US states tax sanitary products as luxury items, and low-income women can't even buy them with SNAP benefits. So while plenty of politicians are very concerned about regulating women's bodies, they don't seem to care about how expensive it actually is to be a woman. And I don't know what we need to do to make them understand. Maybe we could draw 2 to 3 tablespoons of blood a month and go from there. Another international thanks goes to France, which has started a trial of former President Nicolas Sarkozy on corruption charges. It feels good that the country that has so heavily influenced our own democracy and gifted us our favorite artwork is actually sticking to the idea of equality under law for all. Maybe one day we'll follow suit. I also want to give thanks to all of the healthcare workers around the world and in America. While the pandemic has been tough on everyone, these brave men and women had to actually also put their lives on the line. More than 1,700 healthcare workers have died of COVID-19 since the pandemic began in America. So to all those working on the front lines, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'm very sorry that some people prioritize their own freedom to see friends and not wear masks over your safety and well-being. Hang in there. Finally, I want to thank you for watching. Chin Up has been a rewarding but challenging project to undertake, trying to juggle my regular job and also working hard to provide you with quality content. I appreciate every kind word of support and encouragement and the time you take to watch. I also appreciate the haters. Nothing makes a gal feel quite as accomplished as having her very first comment by an internet troll. This is it for today. I'll see you next time. Until then, chin up and don't despair.